All right, Zoom told me the meeting's being recorded. Thank you, Jennika, for taking the time to be on the show. I've been following you for a while now, and I've seen a lot of your Instagram videos, and I'm looking forward to talking with you about jump rope. So thank you so much for joining.
Well, thank you for having me. It's awesome to be here and sit down and chat ropes.
Yep, absolutely. The first question that I have for you is, how did you get started with jump rope? Walk me through that story.
Well, that one is, I got started with jump rope when I kind of got back into fitness, I guess. I kind of was the classic let myself go kind of story. And I had gained quite a bit of weight and gotten very comfortable with very sedentary hobbies. I was watching a lot of Netflix and did a lot of knitting, which knitting's great, but you'd sit. I was not moving my body much at all. And I kind of hit a number on the scale that was about my highest pregnancy weight, and I was not pregnant. So it's like, okay, it's time to do something. And I mean, aside from that, I was tired. I didn't feel great, just needed a change. And that number was the thing that finally got me up out of the chair. And my older brother had been raving about this place called 9 Round. And I had not really looked into it, and he was super excited about it. He kept telling me about it, and it's like, well, I've never seen him so excited about something. So I was like, I guess I better go check it out. And they do a free trial workout, and it kicked my butt. I loved it. It was very hard, but it's 9 different stations, hence 9 Round, and it's kickboxing themed. So it's super fun. It's different every time, which is awesome. And then you put on the hand wraps and, and boxing gloves, and you punch and kick the heavy bags. And I mean, it's not like real kickboxing where you're actually sparring with anybody, but they do have trainer led drills. But anyway, it was just super fun. And a great way to start getting in shape, even though I did not follow their directions and stay loose the first couple of days after that first workout. And I could hardly walk for a few days. I was so sore, but their first round is jump rope. And I had jumped a little bit as a kid, like nothing competitive or anything serious, but we, in tiny little town in Montana, and me and my cousins and some of the neighborhood kids, we'd, play double dutch or just jump, or I had one of those like skip it things that you hook on the ankle and just swing around. So I had a little bit of jumping experience, but nothing serious at all. So jump rope round, I was like, ooh, this is fun. And I was actually enjoying it. And you definitely hear a lot of people that go in there like, oh, I hate the jump rope round. Jumping is so hard. Or like, I haven't jumped since I was a kid. And that's about the most common response. I haven't jumped rope since I was an elementary school kid or teenager and stuff. But the trainer, he had gotten himself a set of Crossropes, and he saw how much I was enjoying the jump rope round every time. And sometimes I would actually jump an extra round or stay after my 9 rounds and jump a little bit longer just for fun. So when he got his Crossropes, he brought them out and was like, hey, check out these cool weighted ropes I've got. And I, being me, of course, went for the big old 2-pounder first. Like,
course,
well, look at that one. Like, I gotta try this one. And I was hooked immediately, like just the feeling of that big heavy rope. And like, I was like, what are these? I got to get them. And he sent me an email. They were doing a 10-day boot camp. And that was in March or April of 2017. So that was my first Crossrope challenge. And ever since then, I've been jumping pretty regularly, almost daily, depending on the week, usually 5 to 6 days a week. And haven't really stopped except for a couple injuries over the last 5 years. Probably combination of 9 Round and jumping, but I like to blame the body weight exercises or vacuuming, a wrist issue. It started to hurt when I was vacuuming, so I don't need a vacuum anymore. I can work out more instead.
Absolutely.
Pretty much, since then it's kind of became my thing, and I love it. And like I said, almost every day.
No, that's awesome. And I noticed on Instagram that you had lost a lot of weight. You had a before and after picture. So jump rope was a main part of that. But what was that like to have to realized that you had gotten to a place where you didn't want to be and make the transformation, how long did it take to get to where you wanted to be?
So I have lost 55 pounds total. I've been in pretty much maintenance mode for the last, well, I guess almost 3.5 years. So it was August of 2016 when I started at 9 round. And I think I lost about 35 pounds in that first 6 months with jumping and 9 round. And then it was probably about a year total before I hit. Well, that was what I was hoping to like maybe lose 10 or 15 pounds. And when I share those before and afters, I often include the line, like, I was one of those people completely lacking in any confidence in myself to think that I could be successful in making that change. So I didn't take any real before pictures or anything, which is kind of a bummer now because I have to like dig for pictures to show how my face, every time I see my face was very round, but I was definitely heavy all over. But I was usually hiding behind somebody in a group picture, or I was the one taking the pictures because I didn't feel comfortable. So that is one thing I do try to recommend people when they get started, like, take those pictures. I know they're uncomfortable to take, but you will love having them someday. And it's really cool to see. But yeah, it was about a year, and with consistent jumping and 9 round. And I didn't make huge nutrition changes at first, just because I know I'm the type of person, if I make too many changes or if it's too restrictive, like, it's not going to happen. So
Sure, yeah.
I kind of started with moving my body, first of all, because it's, a little bit easier for a lot of people. And then just small diet changes along the way, like, trying to watch portions a little better. And part of my very lazy lifestyle was hitting the fast food place. It's just a little local one, but right on the way home from work. So I'd pick up food for the family, and a couple times a week or more, I was having a double bacon cheeseburger and tater tots and fry sauce. And I cut that back. But
Yeah.
I still, I like I said, I don't do well with restrictions. So I pretty much haven't completely eliminated anything. I still indulge. I still like a good bacon cheeseburger, just not 3 times a week.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I can relate. I love a good burger because in the Detroit area, there's so many good burger places. But I think you hit it on the head. Is you just have to scale back the frequency and the portions is the key. Did you go? Some people, they are eating poorly and then they go to a keto diet, or they change drastically. Did you make any changes like that as far as the macros go, or did you just cut back on the portions?
Early on, I didn't try keto. I was tempted, but again, it's one of those, like, it's so many rules to follow that I feel like I probably am not going to be very successful at that. But I did start kind of keeping track, like the old school calories in, calories out kind of concept, just to keep it as simple as possible. And so I was using one of those apps to just log calories throughout the day. But then also that got to the point where it was frustrating, because if we eat fresh, healthy foods, you have to put every little item in there, and it takes, longer to put it into the app than it does to eat the lunch. So while I was at my old job, like, seriously spending more than half of my lunch break and putting it into the app. So I got to a point where I was pretty good at kind of gauging where I was at with, nice big salad at lunch, or, what I was putting on it. But I did at one point kind of track a little more closely the calories and, the macros, but not so much anymore. I did one time when I was injured, and I couldn't jump. That was a shoulder rotator cuff issue. And we were going to Maui for Thanksgiving that year. And I was so mad because I was like in the best shape of my life. I'm like, I'm injured and we're going to Maui. And like, I think it was 2 months or a month and a half before. And I was like, I'm going to lose all this fitness right before we're going to Maui. And we're going to run around in swimsuits all day. And I was so frustrated. But I had some buddies from the jump rope group that we did a we did a plank challenge, and they were always giving me ideas like, hey, let's do some squats. So we just, pop on a Zoom or a video chat and like, we just do some squats, or like, hey, try this workout on a park bench. You don't have to use your shoulder at all. And when I was in that phase, when I couldn't do the cardio that I love with jumping and stuff, and I mean, I did find alternatives, but I did try intermittent fasting then. So I was doing like the 16-8, and that actually worked well for me. I wasn't sure it would, because again, with anything where like, you can't do this, I struggle with, but it wasn't actually that hard. I mean, it took a little adjustment because I was definitely a breakfast eater, wake up and eat. So there was definitely a little adjustment period. And then also the idea of working out fasted. I was so used to the idea of fueling before my workout. So that was a big change. And I did the first probably couple weeks trying to work out fasted was a little interesting, felt a little, weak, and but it didn't take long to make that adjustment. And I think that definitely helped me keep the weight off before the vacation to Maui, when I couldn't work out as hard as I wanted to. And I still sort of, I call it, I tell people when they ask, like, I'm a loose intermittent faster. I don't fast every day of the week, but I still sort of like several days a week, kind of depending on my work schedule or what's going on with the family. Like if everybody's going to be home and have breakfast together, then I'm going to eat breakfast with my family. And it's worked out for me. I mean, I know a lot of people probably are going to be more successful with something that might be a little more strict and regimented, but I'm at a point now where, like I said, it's kind of maintenance mode, and I've kind of found some things that work fairly well for me to keep, like, I feel balanced. I can still enjoy things. I can, like I said, hang out with the family and indulge in a nice, delicious breakfast. And then, 3 or 4 other days of that week, I'll probably go back to my intermittent fasting schedule. But yeah, I think for me, a big part of just life and fitness in general is trying to find the balance, because going too hard and strict on anything, just doesn't work for me. I like being in good shape. I like feeling strong and fit and healthy, but I also don't want that to be like my sole focus. I want to still be able to go out and have fun and enjoy. We have a great local microbrewery here, meet the husband after work. My parents will meet us down there and have a few beers and not feel guilty about it. Like finding that balance in life where you can still enjoy things and but still make sure that you're fit and healthy. And that's what's really worked out well for me. And I think that's how I've been able to maintain without being too strict.
Yeah, that you had a lot of great points there. The intermittent fasting, I think that's the number one thing that's, at least it's been for me in losing weight and keeping it off, is delaying the breakfast. I think that growing up, everybody gets taught that breakfast is the key, and that there's some scientific evidence that breakfast is, you have to eat it, but there's nothing out there that supports it. I know, talking to people, some people look at me like I'm an alien when I tell them that breakfast probably shouldn't eat it, or if you do eat it, you should not eat later in the day. But I agree with you on the intermittent fasting. It's been a game changer, the number one game changer for me, definitely.
Yeah, I think it is something that most people can do. And I know like I said, I had been in that mindset of fueling before working out and starting the day. And there's the people that promote that, like, you need to eat first thing in the mornings. It gets the metabolism going. Well, there's lots of us that are experiencing something different by not eating. I have my giant mason jar. I don't know even how many ounces are in there, but I do start my day with water every day. I drink usually probably about 30 to 40 ounces, like first thing in the morning, just to wake up and make sure I'm getting a good chunk of my water for the day and right then. And I think that also probably helps fight off the feeling of hunger. Although, at this point, I don't. Some days I wake up, I'm like, man, I woke up really hungry today. But most days it's not an issue anymore, especially if I drink a bunch of water right away. But every once in a while, there are those days like, wow,
Oh,
I'm starving this morning.
no, I hear you. I hear you. There's some of those days where you wake up and you just want to eat a good breakfast. Yeah, I hear you. You had an interesting point. You said, and it's hard to think about this, but when you said you had no confidence in the beginning of your journey, which is hard to believe because I see you doing the double unders with the 2 pound rope and doing all sorts of amazing things that most people can't do. So at what point did the confidence kick in for you during your journey, and what was that like, and what kind of advice do you have for people who are suffering with not having much confidence?
I think for me, it was once I got into a routine and things were more consistent, I think that helps. Just knowing that I'm there, I'm showing up and I'm putting in the work. But one thing that was a good, I guess, kind of tracking things, like I'm not one that writes down and tracks every single jump I do. I don't, that's not my thing. That I know that works well for some people, but that takes a lot of the fun out of it, counting every single jump and writing down every jump that I did and every workout. Like I'm not a tracker like that, but just finding some benchmarks. And at the beginning, I didn't even really know that it was a benchmark, but one thing that sticks in my mind all the time is at 9 round, they had just a little step box thing for box jumps. And I think it's maybe 12 inches high, if that. It's not high. But I could not make myself even try to box jump onto that thing in the beginning. It was so intimidating. So I was like, are you kidding me? I walked up to this thing and I'm like, jump. And my legs were like, nope, you're going to rack your shins on that thing, or you're not going to make it. Like, I can't believe I can't make my body do this. So I did step ups until I got a little more comfortable. And then one day I was able to jump up the box without really even thinking about it. And was like, oh, I did it. And it was so exciting. And it was just one of those little things, like never would have imagined that I had gotten to a point where I couldn't even attempt to jump up a foot.
Yeah.
So I used to, take my dog running in the woods and do a lot of trail running and stuff. And I had noticed that I was kind of slowly, using my hands to step down off of a rock and things like that. So once I had hit that point when I could jump up on the box, I was like, oh, I'm gonna take the dog out in the woods. And I was like, I'm jumping up on rocks and all
That's
over the
awesome.
place. And then they actually upgraded and got several taller boxes. And like every time they pull out the box jumps and I'm jumping right up on the 24-inch box, I get to be like, remember when I couldn't even jump on that 1 foot one?
That's awesome.
Good laugh. So that was definitely a moment where it was like, hey, I can do this. I have seen progress. Like what I'm doing here is making a difference. I mean, aside from seeing the number change on the scale, that's another thing. I'm not like super obsessed with the number on the scale, but finding some metric to see progress, whether it's your pant size or that number on the scale. But that's never the greatest one to get stuck on, because you never know what's going to happen with that number. But yeah, the way your clothes fit and the way you feel, or the fact that you can jump up on a 2-foot box when you couldn't even hardly step up on the 1-foot box. And absolutely. I think with jumping, it was just getting more comfortable with the heavier ropes, and then being able to, do crosses with a 2-pound rope. And back in the old days, before there was a Crossrope app and there were paper challenges, and occasionally they would do performance challenges. And discovering that I was near the top of the leaderboard or on top of the leaderboard, like I never ever have been fast. I mean, I'm not like super slow, but I was never a sprinter. I was never the fastest one on any of the sports teams or anything like that. So, I think I found my thing here. Like, that. I'm showing my husband, like, look at this. I'm at the top of the leaderboard in this, I don't remember, probably 100 jumps with the 1/4-pound rope or something. And then like, wait a minute, I'm like in the top 5 with the men's leaderboard too. Like, holy cow.
There you go. Yeah. No, I think you hit on some key points there. The main thing though is that you remembered where you were, and then knowing where you are now. I think it's common for people to forget that, but you remembering that's key. You got to remember where you started from and then compare to your old self. And that's always a good way to draw confidence. in what you're doing, because you can hit a plateau once you get into really good shape, or once you get to a certain skill level at jump rope. So that's important. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that comes up a lot. People like, oh, look at this amazing person. And like, well, that's awesome. And they're inspirational, but they are not you. And like, remember not, only compare with yourself before, like, because we can all, I mean, I have to tell myself that on a regular basis too. Like, oh, look at those amazing tricks that so-and-so is doing. Like, why can't I do those? I'm like, well, also I don't try that hard on some of those crazy tricks. So that's one reason why. And the other one is like, it doesn't matter. Like, they're amazing and that is awesome for them. And like, I'm amazing compared to what I was, 5 years ago. And I have to remind myself of that. Like, don't let that, as the saying goes, that don't let comparison steal the joy. Paraphrasing, obviously, but
it's true. You can't. I remember talking with Nate KG about this. He asked me that question. I said, you can't ever compare with someone else because they've walked a completely different path than you have. So it's like comparing apples, not even to oranges, but apples to dragon fruit or something like that. It's completely different. So you can't compare. You're exactly right. And I like your story too, because the way that you get the main way you can get confidence is by doing things that are uncomfortable, and then one day you get it. You may not get it right away, but you get it, and that's the way that, I mean, I think that you get confidence in yourself and your abilities to keep you moving forward.
Yeah, for sure. Like the other one I always think about is burpees. I couldn't do a burpee when I started my fitness journey. And we see that, like, I can't do a burpee. I'll never be able to do burpee. And it's like, here's where you start. It's like, and I know a lot of people don't know me from that long ago or didn't know my story. And they're like, I seriously couldn't do a burpee. And they're like, oh, you could too. And I'm like, no, here's what I did. I had to squat down to the floor, put my hands down and step one foot out and then step the other foot out and step back in. And that was what I could do at the start. And you just have to modify and go with what you can do, and then keep pushing those limits, because like you said, yeah, we got to be a little uncomfortable to see that progress happen. So you can't just take it too easy, but you also have to be smart and make things work for you. So trying to find that balance of pushing the limits but doing it smartly and safely. And then now I'm one of those weird people that actually loves burpees.
Yeah, that is pretty wild to love burpees. Oof. His burpees that's one of the toughest exercises still, but it's like the toughest ones are the ones that yield the most the most benefits.
Oh yeah, if I feel like I'm kind of slacking off or something, or I have a chest strap, a my zone chest strap heart rate monitor, and if I have the app open, which I sometimes do, it's another thing, like I don't really keep track that much, but I kind of just use the color that it shows for the heart rate. Like, am I pushing really hard? Like, oh no, I'm in blue. Like, oh, speed it up. Or like, oh, let's do 5 burpees real quick and get that heart rate up. And burpees do the trick just about every time.
Yeah, they sure do. There's just something about that compound exercise that really gets the heart rate going. It's awesome. You got the garden hoses. Before the mic came on, we were talking about the garden hoses behind you to your right. You have plenty of ropes. Which rope these days is your go-to rope, your favorite jump rope?
That's one of those, like, I can never pick a favorite. The one that rides around with me, I have my Crossrope Freestyle rope. I have one in my purse. And so that one goes with me everywhere, just so that whatever the opportunity for, I like to call them skip ventures or skip nanigans. If there's a scenic spot, or well, yesterday my husband and I went and played 9 on a little par 3 course, and it was pretty slow play, a lot of people out there. So we were waiting on a tee box for a while, and I'm like, oh, I'm just going to pull out my freestyle rope and skip for a couple of minutes while we wait for those people to finish the hole. So that's the one I carry with me all the time, just because obviously it's very light and portable and it's durable, but it's also like, it's not going to break my heart if I set it down and forget it somewhere. As far as workouts go, when I'm looking for a serious workout, I tend to go for the heavies. I love the 2-pound rope. I say that I love them all. The 3/4 pound rope's a good one too. It's like a lot of us call it the Goldilocks rope because it's a great in between. It's not so heavy that it's really hard to use, but it's also, heavy enough that you get that heavy rope feel and muscle engagement out of it. So that's a fun one too. But yeah, it's like, you can't make me choose just one.
Yeah, there's plenty of them. That 2-pound rope, that's the heaviest cross rope I have. And that rope is a killer. I don't know how you do those double unders with that one. You got to give me some advice here now on how you do double unders with that, because I can barely, the longest I've been able to jump with the 2-pound rope is like 45 seconds. And after that, I'm absolutely exhausted. You got to give me some advice here.
Well, one thing I do for sure with the heavier ropes is I make some form adjustments. So my form is definitely different than like your typical jump rope form where you got, bend in your elbow and your hands are up a little bit higher, or, hip height, or with the heavier ropes, I straighten my arms out more. So it's more of a stand up, like front to back, kind of full arm engaging motion. And that gives me, as a smaller stature human, just makes me feel like I have more power and control. And also I can feel, chest, shoulders, back, a lot more muscle engagement there rather than the strain just all being on my wrist and forearms. And that's really helped me. Early on, I had longer ropes, so I was tying knots in them. And because then you make those form adjustments, then suddenly your rope feels really long, keeping the hands really low. So I definitely have, mine are the extra smalls. I'm 5'5", so I'm using a pretty short rope there. And yeah, it took me a while with the double unders for sure. With the 2-pounder, the timing is so different because it's heavy and slow. And I think it took me a long time to get past one. I was like super stoked when I got one double under with the 2-pound rope, and then I'm watching Dave, whip out 100 of them.
Yeah,
like,
it's unbelievable.
Can't even do. And like, I think part of it for me was a mental thing, knowing it's going to probably hit me in the toes. So I think at first I'd do the one, and then it was like either slow down into regular singles or just stop after getting that one. So trying to get my brain past that point, like we got to keep going, keep the rope moving. And then trying to get that timing down can be tough because typically, double unders, we're using the light rope and we're whipping it as fast as possible. And that almost makes it harder if you try to go too fast, because they're exhausting. It's a crazy heavy rope. But I was stuck at 17 double unders with that 2-pound rope for a couple years, I think. And I finally, just a couple months ago now, it's like, I really want to break 20 already. Like, come on. And I actually did it, of course, off camera, like, doesn't count. Gotta have that video proof when I'm making bold claims about doing double unders with the 2-pound rope. So I got the camera set up, and then I got 24, I think. So is it 25? Is it 24 or 25? I'll have to look back at it, but I was like, I was stuck at 17. Like every time I would trip on that 17th or get the 17th, but I could not break that PR for the longest time. And it just, I think another thing for me is using the big 3-pounder and 4 and 5-pounder. Like before I go for a PR with a 2-pound rope, a little warm up with the 3-pounder makes the 2-pounder feel like way lighter than it is. So this is another one of the big benefits of the heavier ropes is they make the ones that felt heavy not quite so heavy. And I think that has helped too. And I don't do a ton of jumping with the 3, 4, and 5-pounders because they're just kind of ridiculously heavy. I think like with the 4 and 5-pounder, when they first came out with that, like I had to have it. It was before I started working for Crossrope. But at first I was like, no, I don't need those. Like they're so heavy. The 3-pounder is plenty heavy. Like I don't want to hurt myself swinging a rope that's so big and ridiculously heavy, but it's like, oh, I want them. I need them. Like I couldn't resist. I was a Crossrope collector connoisseur before I worked for them. So I I had to get them, and I still have a hard time not kind of just giggling to myself when I swing the 4 and 5 pounders. I just laugh, like it's fun.
Yeah.
And there's something empowering about, I think, swinging a heavy rope like that. Like when you kind of go into it thinking like, oh, 4 pounds isn't that much. And then you try to swing it like, holy cow, that is a lot of force that you're swinging around your body. And then being able to get a few swings in and kind of feel like you're in control of it. I think I find that, kind of thrilling and empowering to manage those big things.
Oh, you made a good point about it, because everyone thinks, oh, 4 pounds, 2 pounds, 3 pounds is not a lot. But then you start trying it, and maybe after 10, you're like, that's not that bad. But then once you get to like 20, just regular ones, I just start to get tired after that. It reminds me, it's not really on top, but it reminds me of that video game Guitar Hero back in the day, where there was this guy, we were playing Guitar Hero, and this guy had never played before, and he was like, let me get that, I can play this. And he tried it, and he couldn't do any of the songs. He thought it was so easy. It's the same with those ropes. It's funny to see people, they're like, oh, that's not that much weight, 2 pounds. Then they go for it. It's like, yeah, man. Yeah, that's a lot of weight there every time, because you keep on having to turn it around you.
Yeah, that's my favorite one. When people are like, oh, what's the big deal with these weighted ropes? Can you really feel the difference? Like, try this one first. And usually, yeah, and they're the ones, like when I used to go to a gym, and people would walk by like, oh, those are some big ropes you got there. And they're like, that can't be that hard. It can't be that heavy. It's only 2 pounds. And that's when I'm like, give it a try. And every time like, whoa, that is intense.
Yeah, you give them the rope with that smile, and the smile is like, I know that you're gonna mess it up here. You're gonna underestimate this thing. Yeah, that's hilarious. So you mentioned that you just started working for Crossrope. What do you do for them, and how did you get on with them? What was the story behind that?
It was one of those like, thank you, universe kind of things for me. I had, just had been really involved in their jump rope fitness community group on Facebook, and had done all their challenges. And I'd collected all the ropes, and was doing a lot of, when COVID, it was actually right before COVID first hit. I had found out that I was going to get laid off. They told us in December. So I was working as a molecular biology tech at a hospital in the area. And yeah, they had been there 11 years. And they told us right before Christmas that they were dissolving the entire department, and that we were going to be laid off like towards the end of March. And, that was one of those things, like a totally unplanned career change. Like I kind of thought I would retire from there. And then the timing, I luckily had worked there 11 years. So I had a decent severance package, like nothing to make me rich or anything, but enough to be comfortable for a couple months. And then, but right when the official, it's over, you're now officially no longer employed, then everything started shutting down from COVID. It's like, what am I going to do? Like there used to be a lot more molecular type positions in the Spokane, Coeur d'Alene area, but a lot of them got bought out by bigger science companies and labs and things, and moved out of town. So we were kind of the last little molecular lab in the area. And I loved it. I love genetics and the science part of it. Started looking around, like there's not a whole lot of opportunity for that specific specialty in the area. Like, are we gonna have to move Seattle, Portland, or even further away? But I have family here. My husband has family here, and he's got a really good job that he's been at for 16, 17 years. So like that doesn't really make sense. It's kind of just trying to figure out what the next move was, and and then more and more things were shutting down with the pandemic. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And then one day I got an email or message on Messenger, I think, from one of the Crossrope employees, like, hey, would you be interested in having a chat sometime next week? It's like some exciting stuff coming up. We thought you might be interested. And I was like, it was so vague at first. I was just like, sure. I love my Crossrope. So like, I don't know what's going on, but yeah. And then I got to chat with Dave, and they decided to add this new role on the Crossrope team. They're Crossrope athlete, and they had asked me and Chad Gonzalez, who's same thing. We'd been in the group together. We've been friends, Facebook friends and jump rope friends for a couple of years, always doing all the challenges and trying to beat each other in our, speedy 100s and 1000s with the 1 pounder and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, they had a little meeting with both of us and asked they met with us separately at first, but when Dave was like, would you be interested? And I was just like, oh my gosh, are you serious? You've got to be joking right now. Like, I was totally in panic mode. Like, what am I going to do for a living? And at first it was just kind of part-time independent contractor status. Because they were, also keeping in mind that both of us probably had jobs and things like that. And I was like, actually, I just got laid off. So if you want to give me more hours, I would take them happily. So I started working a little bit more. And then actually it was the beginning of this year, January 1st, 2021, I went on as an official Crossrope employee, no longer independent contractor. So full-time Crossrope employee. And like I said, it was just, I still am kind of like, are you serious? I work for Crossrope? I'm like, and the perfect time. And I mean, like, I was seriously about to panic. I have no idea what I'm going to do for a living. I was not planning on changing my career at 40. So, and then like, Crossrope came knocking on the door. So to tell people that Crossrope and jumping rope has saved my life in many ways. Fitness, health, the community, and now career. So
that's an awesome story, because I remember we had talked a little bit about that before, but I didn't realize it was that imminent of a situation with your job and then Crossrope coming through and you having that opportunity. That is excellent. You always like to hear stories like that where things work out well for good people.
Yeah, it was definitely one of those moments, like it could not have been better timing. And yeah, it's still, like I said, I still am just thrilled and have to pinch myself on a regular basis that it all worked out that way. And I'm loving it. So it's been awesome.
So do you write the workouts and construct the workouts? Is that one of the things that you do?
Yeah, so we're kind of part of the app team. Obviously, I'm not a tech person. I don't do any of the app development or anything, but Chad and I design all of the workouts for the app. So we have the 5 new daily app workouts that go into the workout feed every week. And then we have the monthly challenges. We usually, if it's longer than 10 days, we usually split them up. So like on the 2-week challenges, 1 month, I'll take week 1 and Chad will take week 2. And then we also have the newer programs. They're goal focused programs. So it'll be more focused on a specific body part, like we've got like a leg one where most of the body weight exercises are leg focused, and a core one that's it's got a lot of planks. I should have named it something plank related. I've had some people add up. They were like, there was like 16 hours of planks in this 30-day challenge. But everybody that's done it has said that they have definitely seen results and are impressed with how much stronger their core is. I mean, there's a lot of other core exercises. It's not plank only, but yeah, it's jumping in and a bunch of core exercises. And then another one is Chad did a speed builder program or speed booster. He's really into his speed step and, improving his times there. So that one's a fun one. So yeah, we kind of get to, with the programs, we've kind of like, as I mentioned, I'm really into the heavy rope. So I did just a short little endurance booster program, and it uses all 4 of the ropes. So it kind of encourages people to spend a little more quality time with the heavier ropes and build up those intervals. But yeah, so we do all those app workouts. And then we've started doing some YouTube videos for the Crossrope YouTube channel, some mostly workouts. And we did actually a beginner series. So the beginner challenge from the app, I've been kind of pushing on, like, it's really hard for people to learn how to jump rope with just an interval timer. I mean, we have the little demo GIF on the screen, but it's hard for people that really have no jumping experience. And especially if they have no fitness experience either, like those people need, a little more guidance. So I kind of was like, we need to get some videos, and like, can we do the beginner challenge follow along style for a YouTube series? So we alternated days. Chad and I took every other day and just did it like guided style. So it's still the beginner program from the app, or the beginner jump rope challenge from the app, but we just did it follow along style. So any day that there was a new footwork skill introduced, because it's pretty basic, foundational footwork skills there in that beginner program. But so each day that a new footwork skill would pop up, we kind of started out with more of a how-to and some demos, and just a lot of, encouragement throughout the workout, and reminders to rest if you need to. Like, just because the timer hasn't gone off, like, you rest when you need to. Listen to your body, make it work for you. And in little form tips and reminders as you get later on in some of those longer ones. They don't get too long in the beginner challenge, but just, little things to encourage people to, like, maybe think about why they're suddenly tripping a bunch, like, are your hands still even, things like that. So that was really fun. Definitely enjoy getting feedback on those kind of things, and having people say that, that helped them along in their jump rope journey. And then see, what else do we do? All sorts of, we get to do another favorite part, product testing.
Yeah.
Sometimes get to test out some prototypes and stuff. So that's always fun. Like the Freestyle rope we got to play around with before it was out there. And yeah, that was definitely a fun one. And still we do live follow along workouts in the Facebook community too. So usually with every new challenge, we'll do live follow along workouts. Again, we kind of alternate every day. So one day is me, the next day will be Chad. Like, we just started the new September challenge today. So I did day 1 live, and try to encourage the jumpers out there that might be struggling on their own. Like, we're here, we have this amazing community to help, but also, like, right here, we've got to follow along, telling you exactly what to do and giving you tips and pointers throughout. And we also do other workouts that we just come up with on our own. Like, I just posted a ladder the other day with the 3/4 pound rope and a kettlebell complex in there in the ladder. So we sometimes get to be creative outside of the app too, and kind of just come up with our own little things to share and encourage people to jump. And then one of my it's all my favorite parts. I'm just so in love with all of it.
Yeah, that's like, what I'm talking about. That's awesome. Yeah.
Really, really brings me joy. I mean, I know it sounds super cheesy, but it brings me so much joy when we get somebody that's new and they, post a question, or we have people that are a little shy and they don't want to post a video in the group. So they'll send a DM, so just send me a quick little video and I'll try to take a look. And when I'm able to give them some tips and pointers, and they immediately are like, oh my gosh, that helped me so much. I'm like, thank you. Like, I feel like I can jump now. Like, that is so rewarding to help someone out. Like, because I know from my own fitness journey, like, fitness really changes your life and really, really can improve so many other aspects of your life, just because you're feeling healthier and fit. And I mean, the mental health component of physical fitness is, it's a very, very direct connection, being fit and active and having, strong mental health. Or like, if you're struggling, just moving your body and being more active can help with lots of mental health issues. So getting to be a part of people's jump rope journey, like, I'm getting all emotional here. Like, it really is, it means a ton to me. So like, I think that's probably one of the most rewarding parts about it, for sure, is to get to be a part and help people along in their fitness and jumping. So
it sounds like, no disrespect to the scientific community and medical community, but it sounds like this job beats that every day of the week for you.
Yes, like I said, I did love the science, and I was, a big science nerd. So it was great. And we had a really great group in the lab for a while, but a lot had changed in the area. I loved what I did in the molecular lab. And we had a really great group of people, but because of some of the changes in the lab industry in the area, we used to serve as a big reference lab for most of the Northwest, even down into California and Oregon, Montana, Washington, Idaho, a lot of Western states. And that had all changed. So we went from about 15 people to 3. And then it went from being a reference lab where they took all of that back to the company that bought the other lab. Anyway, long story, it became where it was mostly we were only doing in-house patient testing, and there wasn't a high volume, and molecular testing is expensive. The science, the technology, the reagents you need to run the tests, it's expensive. And it got to the point where we weren't flying under the radar anymore, being in the red every month. And it just, we were kind of hoping we could write it out. There was some sort of legal agreement with the other labs that got bought out so that we couldn't, pursue clients in the area. And it was like 2 years left on that, but they decided that they didn't want to wait. So they dissolved the department. And like I said, I was heartbroken. I mean, jump roping was a hobby, fitness. I'd already had, I had huge passion for it and I loved it. I was a crazy jumper already. And, like I said, it's nice to talk to somebody about jump ropes that isn't rolling their eyes going like, is she ever going to shut up about the jump ropes? Like,
oh yeah, I've been enjoying listening. This is great.
So I like I said, I was heartbroken when they told us they were closing down the lab, and and that's when I started looking around. There really just wasn't a lot of opportunity. And again, it didn't help. I was super specialized just as a molecular technologist. So total unexpected, unplanned career change, but it couldn't have worked out better for me, and hopefully everyone else feels the same way.
Yeah, your story is awesome. I was saying earlier, I didn't quite understand from our first conversation the gravity of your situation, and then to see it work out well for you, that's excellent. Nothing better than that. So,
It's been amazing.
That's awesome. We got time for one more. It looks like the time has been flying by, but that's what happens when you're having good conversation. So I really appreciate you coming on. The last question is sort of the catch-all is, what kind of advice do you have for somebody or anybody who is struggling getting in shape and they want to use jump rope to try to do it, or they're just struggling to get in shape and they don't know where to start?
So I think that, right. Yeah. If they don't know where to start, that's definitely, that can be the hardest part, is what do you do? Where do you start? And like I said, I think for me, it was, I had my brother in my ear about 9 round, and it just was I had to just start, like anything. Like if you can't jump, or you don't even have a jump rope, but you're interested in it, pretend, like just go through the motions, get up. And I think that's the biggest step, is just committing to yourself to moving your body more. And that's a great starting place. And it keeps it from being too daunting and too much of when people start out and they go really hard right at the beginning with I'm gonna, work out an hour a day, 7 days a week, and, completely change my nutrition and everything, like all at once. And that's hard. Like people that do that and are successful, like I bow down to them. Like that is amazing. You can stick with all that, because too much change all at once makes it really hard and feels overwhelming. And so I think that's probably my biggest piece of advice, is like, take it slow and don't do too much too soon. And meaning that in multiple ways, like any movement you're doing, you don't want to overdo it and end up injured with overuse injuries, but just overall, like don't overwhelm yourself with too many numbers and too many plans. Like start simple, and especially if you've been doing nothing at all, like really no fitness, no activity, like don't plan on, running 10 miles or jumping 10 minutes straight. Like just get up and move. Just a few minutes, start there. And like, again, if you don't have a jump rope and you're interested, like go through the motions. Like there's a free version of the Crossrope app. Like you can pretend to, shadow jump through a couple workouts and see how it feels. And that can actually help a lot of people with, getting down the timing and rhythm, even is just pretending to do it without a rope, because then that rope never hits you.
Yeah.
Although on the other side, you never trip either. So you don't get a little bonus rest break from tripping up.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and without the tripping, you don't learn too. That's the other thing. But you're right though. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, so that'd be the first part is don't make too many huge dramatic plans and huge big changes, and then just keep going. Reach out for help. Like there's, on Instagram, there's so many great jumpers and amazing jump rope community there. And in the Crossrope Facebook community, like I know it's silly. There's, over 90,000 people in there, but I call them my jump rope family. And I have also made like amazing real friends that some of them I've actually got to meet in real life. We're not just jump rope friends anymore, but that has been life-changing too, the community aspect of it. So I think that's another thing that helps people keep going with jump rope, is because there's so many different sides to it and so many people that love it, and it's a huge community. And I tell people, and they probably laugh at me, some of them agree. I tell people though that people that jump rope are the best humans in the world. Like
I agree.
I get lots of reminders. Like somebody in the group the other day posted that they didn't have a rope yet, but they're jumping anyway. Does that count? And everyone's like, of course, that's, you're moving your body, that's exercise. And then somebody popped in and said, hey, DM me your address, I want to send you a rope. And she bought her a Get Lean set of cross ropes, and just because she saw she didn't have a rope. And then
that's awesome.
I see stories like that, and it's just like, see, people that jump rope are some of the best humans on the planet. And I mean, it is an amazing supportive community, whether you're into the competitive jumping and the tricks and all of that stuff, which is super fun and amazing. But I'm definitely a fitness jumper at heart. And but you can still have fun with it. Like I love a good hard, fast workout where the focus is, either like just alternate foot jump and going as hard and as fast as you can. But then also learning some of those other skills and tricks outside of the basic foundations of, jumping, some of the more advanced stuff. Well, I call it advanced stuff. It is not advanced if you're in the competitive jumping. Like
for sure.
The stuff I do is like beginner to like lower intermediate level, but it's still so good for the coordination and like your brain, like every time. And that's the other thing I like to say, and people laugh at me, is jumping rope makes you smarter. You're using your whole body, the coordination, the timing, the rhythm, and then also challenging yourself to learn new tricks. And like every time you're learning something new, you're making yourself smarter. So
yeah, no, you're right. You're right about that. I didn't think about it because there's a scientific component to it, but I didn't think about it from making yourself smarter by teaching yourself new things. That's a good point. Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah. Well, it's been great talking with you. I really enjoyed this conversation. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk and share your experience. And I personally was inspired by both your stories, the weight loss story and your job, and finding this new job with Crossrope, where it seems like you're really enjoying it and you found a way to give back and help people. I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your stories.
well, thank you. Yeah, it was awesome to be invited. I was just thrilled when you sent me the message. I was like, oh, that's exciting stuff. But yeah, I'm very lucky. Like I said, I pinch myself on a regular basis. Like, is this for real?
It's great. It's always great to meet like-minded people in the jump rope community. And like you say, sometimes you might not meet them, but now with technology these days, you can talk with people like this. So it's excellent. And it's a great way to connect with people.
Yeah. Bring the world together through jumping rope.
Yeah.